Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Heavenly Parent Holy Community Oceania Hundake, today with Jacinta Darbishire. Today is Sunday, the 24th of October, and the 19th of September in the 9th year of Chongnilguk. So let's begin, as always, with a bow to our Heavenly Parents and True Parents. Chariot, Kyombe, Paro. And let's recite our family pledge, both in Korean and English. Thank you.
가전맨세 7. 전국 주인 우리 가족은 참 사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위한 은세화를 통하여 심존 문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 7. Our family, the owner of Chongnilguk, pledges through living for the sake of others to perfect the world based on the culture of heart, which is rooted in the original lineage by centering on true love. Thank you. I'd like to ask Tsumiko if she could offer the opening prayer, please.
Dearest Heavenly Parent, parent of humankind, thank you very much. New day on Sunday, start the new week. And truly we thank you for your deep and burst of love for all humankind, especially in the time, long time suffering and member can hard work, this member can be your area, your bosom to us Jumbo family, and do have that I have responsibility, of course, to this time to 100% or 200% support to this providence, and also to make change the environment we belong, because that is not original world yet, and not Father's desire, Heavenly Parent desire to make this that current situation. Therefore, have a responsibility. People who had the responsibility have to put 100% to restore in this time, and that's with you. Therefore, we really need to condition to make happen in this time. But we saw that so many head of state or former state is now that with us, and all the spiritual world with us, to all the sage and saint, they have got fulfill their responsibility. Another time, all good ancestors and good saints and sages that had waiting for to help us. Therefore, we really need to with them to liberate them and bless them and together work with. Also, we really need to work with horizontally and also vertically and horizontally with all belonging members and also new members, to convey all blessing and love for all people with us, with members and also peace ambassadors and all people who do not know you. That is a task ahead to 2027 too, and we really hope for that time has come. And thank you very much today, Jacinta Darbishire, to share with us, and thank you very much, and work with Heavenly Parent to guide us through her. And we really pray for that to start a new week with heavenly spirit. And I report James and Snack Bible blessing to family. Jew.
Thank you. Let's give a warm welcome to Jacinta as she shares with us this morning. So thank you, Jacinta.
Okay. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Thank you that I can talk to you all across the Pacific. It's quite a rare experience. Anyway, this is testimony of about 47 years since 1974, when I joined the Unified Family. So, yeah, first of all, here's a picture of my my twin brother and my parents when we were in Italy. This was in 1974. And I've written how I got permission to leave the Catholic Church because it was quite significant for me, because I was pretty religious Catholic, and my twin brother was too. But I was sort of like the Cain and he was the Abel. So he's really spiritual, and I was more practical, and I like a sociable type of person. I like having fun and yeah, so everyone in my family are quite religious, or they're very good people. So I was probably the least spiritual person. So if I hadn't joined the Unification Church, I think I would have let them all down because I was so unhappy. So, anyway, this picture, you can sort of see we look pretty sort of traditional people in a way. But we were on our way to Rome. We were going to go to Rome and have a look at the Vatican and everything. And my parents kept fighting in the car, just verbal fight. And I was just so angry, and I just couldn't wait to get away from them, actually, because I was 20 years old, and we were traveling around in this car. And anyway, got to Vatican, and I just rushed into the church there, and I found a priest, and I said, please help me. I can't stand my parents, I'm going crazy. And I knew that somehow my parents were like my connection to God. I felt that. So he said, just say 3 Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers, and everything will be fixed. But instead of saying, oh yes, Father, thank you very much, I just got up and walked out, and I've just felt that was my original mindset. You now have permission to leave the Catholic Church because they're not serving your interests. But I guess that's the way I was. So I walked out straight across the huge square there, and found a bookshop, and there was a beautiful book called Memories, Dreams and Reflections by Carl Jung. And it was all about how everybody in the world, no matter what culture or religion, they seem to dream with the same symbols and images, which I found extremely exciting. And so the next 6 months, I felt like I was being led all of my life, actually, but that last 6 months was extraordinary. I felt like, if a voice came and told me to do something, I'd just go and do it. And some really good results would come. So yeah. It was that day on the 3rd of July, 1974. I was in a university lecture, and I did what I promised my dad I'd never do, and that is I just got up and walked out of the lecture. It was just I just felt I don't need to listen to this anymore. I need to go somewhere else. So I got up, I walked out, and that was the very day I met the missionary, German missionary called Annette BRL. Yeah, so she was very sensitive and asked me very challenging questions. And even though I'd almost walked away from her because I was a bit afraid to do something that, like, go home with a complete stranger and listen to her ideas, I thought that's a bit off the page, you know. But anyway, I did it in the end. And wow, that was the best thing I ever did in my entire life. So yeah, when I heard the divine principle, I was just ecstatic. I was so excited. Within 1 week, I just joined. And yeah, so this is the next picture. Yep, that's Annette in the middle there. And there's a guy called Gerald, and this is me looking very stylish. And then there's Annette again there, and Sue Crossweight, Jane Bowman, and moi. And so yeah, so all of a sudden I was getting up in the morning really early, cleaning the place, and we lived in this beautiful little white flat, and learning how to pray aloud and do full Korean bows and stuff like that. And so yeah, it was a big culture shock, but I was excited. I was so excited I didn't even care. And in fact, I thought sleeping on the floor was like camping, you know, like a holiday camp feeling. Because you know when you go out in the bush and you sleep on the ground with your swag, which we often did as children, you're so close to nature, and it's sort of like the best experience of my life. So coming back, you know, to that sort of more oriental style of doing things was it just seemed so natural, actually. Anyway, so I started studying divine principle, and I must have studied it for about 3 months. And I gave up my uni course instantly, and I took up a job part-time cleaning, and it turns out that, you know, that I also really love witnessing, because I like talking to people. So yeah, it was amazing. And you learn so much from talking to people. And yeah, I did a precondition after about 3 months to be certain about Father, because I was like pretty close to, I had a close relationship, I thought, with Jesus. Probably not so close, but I had this idea that, you know, Jesus was going to come back, probably as a communist revolutionary guy, and that he would sort the world out. Anyway, turned out Father came instead, so that's great. Yeah, I wasn't really into communism after a while. I hung out with them for a while, and then they were just like gross. So yeah. So got pictures here of me witnessing in the street. This is a picture. Also, we have this one, which is learning to fundraise with granariums. We used to make up these little dried flower arrangements with grains in them, and take them out and sell them. And that, I have to say, learning to fundraise was probably the most practical thing that Father ever taught me, because I had to overcome every ounce of my ego in order to do that thing. And I think probably a lot of you are the same, but you know, it's just incredible. So yeah, I overcame that, and I've had the most amazing experiences with people, which is incredible. I remember one time this blind lady, she said, "Oh, what are you selling, dear?" And I said, "Oh, these granariums, and they're like a glass bottle with a flower arrangement. And she said, "I'll take one." That's a phenomenon in itself. But anyway, I just realized it's, you know, there's magical, amazing people out there that we don't know about. They're the kind of, they don't sort of advertise themselves, but they're all out there. So, and learning to pray was something which I've struggled with all my life. But you see a direct result between prayer and result when you're fundraising and when you're witnessing. So I don't know why I have to keep learning that over and over again. Anyway, moving on. Here we have the mobile fundraising team. So I started that in about 1979. Yeah, you've got Penny there, John Reed, David Eichler, and our captain, who was Mark Burfield. And here we have a picture of meal preparations in which Mrs. Burfield is present on the right there. Anyway, we always had a lot of fun doing that. And, you know, learning the principles of unity and working together as a group. I mean, there's so many things I've learned that I would never, ever have learned otherwise. And I kept thinking, gosh, you know, I wish my family would realize that I'm turning into a much better person through this movement. But somehow it didn't get across, you know. And here's a Sunday service in the desert, which is one of the features of being on MFT, which is always a beautiful thing. Because, you know, you're out there, you just feel the Spirit of God everywhere. So one of the experiences in my life is like having been brought up Catholic. I remember when I was 7, you say, oh yeah, we're going to have First Holy Communion. You'll meet Jesus when you get the bread in your mouth. And I thought, okay, this is going to be good. So got the Holy Communion, no Jesus. And I thought, I've been duped. And I went like at night, that night of my first Holy Communion, I complained to God and I said, why didn't you come, you know, and visit me when I did the Holy Communion? And I was really upset. And then I went outside and I sort of looked up at all the stars, and it was like God spoke to me through the stars and said, don't worry, you know, I've got something cooked for you, you know, it's ready for you. So you just have to be patient, you know, we'll be guiding you and everything. And it's funny that often it was me doing something, going out into nature and sort of complaining to God. And so I was like, where are you? And this sort of thing. And then he'd say, oh yeah, look, you know, I'm here watching you and helping you and everything. So I knew that it wasn't just one religion. I mean, deep down, I knew there wasn't just one religion that was right and everybody was wrong, because God was everywhere. So yeah. Anyway, I was a member of the Sun Valley Singers in 1979. That was a real thrill. Yeah, we went to a maximum security prison in Sydney to sing for the people in the prison. It was actually a women's prison. And so we sat down after we'd done a few numbers, and we took a few whatever. Anyway, we sat down and started talking to them, and I found out that, you know, murderers and people who've done really serious crimes are beautiful people. They're just like me, you know, a good person, just didn't get enough control over their emotions. So it was really quite interesting. Anyway, I'm trying to go by my pictures, I think. That's what I'll do. Anyway, the rest of 1979 was still on MFT, but then I went back to my parents' home for Christmas, and that I found out then that they had organised some deprogrammers to come and stay with them in the house. So when I came home and there was these two strangers there, and I had a dream that night that they were going to deprogram me, but they didn't announce that who they were until the next day, and then I sort of knew. So sure enough, I was driven out to this place in the bush, and they tried to break my faith, and luckily they didn't succeed. But it was really excruciating to have to watch my family get sucked in by them. My family, who was so religious and so good people, and they were sucked in by these guys, and who they said they had completely convinced themselves that they were right. And yeah, it was just awful to think that they didn't believe in me, but they believed in strangers, and like after it was over, and I got the police involved, and I could have taken them all to court and everything, but I just wanted to. I valued my family more than I valued, the law. I just thought, nah, I can't do this, because I know mum and dad meant well. I knew that they meant well, and so really tried right from the get-go. I tried to forgive them, but it took a long time to really get rid of that feeling of incredible resentment. How come you don't believe me, even though I'm your own daughter? So that's a really deep point for me. I really want to believe in my kids, even if the world's come against them, or for whatever reason. I want to believe in what they say. I want to believe in their heart. Anyway, so big blessing came after that, and I was one of the matching candidates in 1981. Also Willowdoo, we were having these really interesting workshops at Willowdoo, which is near Canberra in the mountains. Also Carl and Kim and I went to 40 days training in New York in 1981, which was really an amazing experience too, and a blessing. And then straight after that, I got to meet Ian, to whom I had been matched by photo. He was a deer farmer in England, or father had asked him to be a deer farmer. So yeah, we're both pretty lucky people, actually. We've got a lot in common, even in our past. And so there we are, yep, in our dogs. And yeah, nice picture of the kid, of the girls witnessing in the street there. And there's some people you might know outside the New York hotel. Then Katrina and I, when we went back to Australia, opened up a centre in Newcastle, and that was exciting. That was our first centre, which looks a bit daggy, but anyway, it was fun.
Right.
Yep, and there's the Korean IW. I've forgotten his name. And Ian Bell hiding behind Lee Perry. Lee Perry is out there somewhere, and I have got jobs on him, waiting for him to show up. Okay, in 1984, we went to Perth. Me and Katrina went to Perth, and here's Mitty and John Dorosky. Oh. Yeah, John Dorosky came to visit us. And yeah, we did anti-communist work there, witnessing, selling terrariums. There's Mr. Peter Son, who is a Korean, who sort of suddenly appeared out of nowhere. and he's always helping and serving. Yes, someone I can't forget. There's a bit of street work. Then I went to Canberra, and Ian followed me. And we did a witnessing condition there with Mitty and Wendy Babas and Anne Bellavant's sister. So we're pretty close, which is great. Then we went to Brisbane, and we were in Brisbane for quite a long time. So did a lot of workshops there, and Grattan used to come up and visit us. Now Grattan is my father-in-law, and he was Ian's first spiritual child. He basically came out from England to New Zealand and tried to get him out of the church, but he ended up joining instead, which is fun. Another miracle. Okay, went to Adelaide in 1990. I'm just going through this really quickly. And that's my firstborn, Ross, with, I think he's cooked by stone, not sure. Even though we were in Adelaide, we used to come over to workshops in Melbourne because we're all by ourselves kind of thing in Adelaide, where my family lived. And I remember feeling absolutely devastated when I left the centre style living, because I just thought that was the way I should be living. I shouldn't be living in my house on my own. But yeah, because Grattan gave us a house, we lived in this house on our own, which was such a shock. And I had to keep jumping in the car and driving to Melbourne so I could experience some more of our family spirit. And so there's Rick and Mary, Kamara, Greg, Martin. And there's my little son, Rossi. There's, Mary and Bakary holding Ross with Mika and Janae. And there's Gail and her kids. So we were all pretty good mates. There's Tim and Irene and Rick lecturing. There's a lot of activity there in the early 90s. There's Ian and I outside of our house. So it sort of looks like a kind of sad compared to all the fun that was happening in Melbourne. Anyway, we did get things going in Adelaide, but I don't know, we seemed to struggle quite a bit. But we focused on things like, having children. I did a lot of gardening, so that helped my thing. Oh, anyway, that's just the most recent pictures. We're in a coffee shop in Chongpyong. Met up with Oceania members, Jeffrey and Mary Moriarty. And there's a picture of my garden. But yeah, it was sort of like the first 16 years of my church life. I lived in 20 different places, and it was often a source of like pain and feeling of disappointment in me, that I could never really get anything going. I could never get anything established in any of the places where I went. And I asked myself, why did God sort of work it out that way? Because I know we had to move. It was sort of like, whatever the able figures decided, that's the way Father was organizing things. And what comes to my mind is that I think God is trying to make us keep refreshing our mind so we don't get stuck on our own ways of thinking, but focusing on a vertical lifestyle. And then I really didn't understand exactly what that meant, but I sort of felt like I was developing a dependence on God, which you know, it was quite hard for me as a practical person to think, okay, I've just spent, you know, 6 months raising funds and witnessing on the street. Maybe I haven't got any spiritual children, but I've learned to live with this really difficult, bossy, able figure. So I could see there was changes happening in me, like I was becoming a better person. And but I never had anything to be proud of, I felt, in terms of physical accomplishments or that kind of thing. So looking back now, because I'm at that age where I'm doing a lot of looking back, I have to think about the people I met and what I did. And also I found out, because I'm not terribly good at praying, as I mentioned before, but I have found that writing things down is a really good way of praying, because you sort of like, you're actually creating words and pictures in your mind and putting them onto paper. And it has a power. It has a power which is almost similar to the spoken word. Written word and spoken word, they're quite sort of powerful. So I'm learning to do that, but yeah. Anyway, I was just getting really, you know, I was in Adelaide bringing up the children and everything. Ian got his theology degree, but I just got to the point now, I fixed up my garden, I fixed up the garden and everything. And I was just bored because I wasn't doing I felt like I wasn't doing anything providential. But at that time, Grattan pushed me to go to Chongpyong, because he was a great believer. And he just believed easily in things like Chongpyong. And so he said, look, you go to Korea and do this 21-day registration workshop in 1999 and represent my wife, who had died at that point. And so getting a free ticket to Korea was a whole different thing. I said okay, I'll go. And yeah, so going to Chongpyong was incredible. And it was like one of the earliest 21-day wives workshop. And there was all these really old members from Europe. And first of all, I was so shocked that everybody, all the old members just looked so sort of depressed and out of it. And yeah, just kind of, I thought, oh my God, what's happened to them? And then I just, in other words, I didn't think about, I stopped thinking about myself, and I thought, oh, well, let's just try and figure out what's going on here, you know, how is everyone feeling? And I started talking to them, and but at the same time, I was allowing myself to hear what Demnon was saying. You know, she was speaking through Mrs. Kim, and I just observing everything that was happening. And I thought, gosh, this is really amazing. The whole group was kind of resurrected by those talks and that 21-day condition that they did. And yeah, I was pretty amazed. And in fact, I think it was at that time, that's right, I'd been in a centre in Canberra where a person had come and joined. She was a beautiful sister, but she was too spiritually open to be in the centre at that time. And in fact, she was heading for a major mental breakdown. So I said, look, I can't cope with this. You know, you can't live in the centre when you're like this. So she went off. She tried to join in Sydney, and then she checked herself into a mental hospital and then committed suicide a couple of months afterwards. And I always felt so sad, you know, that she, that I couldn't do something to help her. So I sort of made a mental note to myself. I thought, if there's any way that I can help this girl, please let me know, Heavenly Father. And when I did this registration workshop, one of the women there looked exactly like her. She had the same kind of face. And I said, oh my goodness, you look just like this lady who I know back in Australia. And she said, she was an amazing woman. This girl, you might know her name's Connie Gabb. She's the wife of Stephen Gabb. And they were living in Korea. I think they were in Gyeongju or something. Anyway, she said, okay, let's go liberate it. And I sort of didn't know what liberation was at that time. I said, oh, okay, what do we do? And she said, oh, let's do a 3-day fast. So we did that, and it was amazing. It wasn't actually what we're supposed to do. You're not supposed to fast in Cheongpyeong, and you're supposed to like give money and go through the channels. But we just thought we'd pray and fast, because it was a good idea at the time. But it completely changed my whole life, because praying for someone else and not eating in Cheongpyeong, I just completely spun out. And I just felt like God was sitting on my shoulder, and I had no more fear. So like there was all these elderly Koreans walking around. There were like people that are Korean men, for example, I find extremely intimidating, because they're so sort of kind of proud and upstanding and look like they got everything together. And I was just walking up to them saying, oh, hi, love your shirt. And, just sort of starting up a conversation with them. And I could see in my mind, they're like, what the heck is, how dare she talk to me, type of thing. But I didn't even care. I just thought, I just want, to experience God through these people. And yeah, so anyway, and I went to a Korean place called Wando Island at the bottom of Korea, and did 2 weeks. After that, I did 2 weeks, what do you call it, missionary work or something. But I spent most of my time just cleaning toilets and stuff, which is, I'm still doing that. Anyway, yeah. Oh, I have time. Good Lord. Sorry, it's really hard to stick to the time thing. But anyway, that experience with God made me really want to just do everything the way that Father would want me to do it. And so when I came back to Australia, I said to Ian, we've got to do something, to be more united with his true parents. So we ended up deciding to sell our house and go to Jardim in Brazil. And when I suggested this, Ian actually agreed with me, and I was so shocked that he agreed with me, because mostly we disagree about most things. But this he really agreed with, and I thought, oh my gosh, here we go. That was my idea, wasn't it? Anyway, no, it was something that God wanted us to do, and even though I knew other people wouldn't understand, and looking back now, even though if I was back there again, I'd do exactly the same thing, even though it wasn't easy after that. Anyway, yeah, we sold the house, went to Jardim, went and visited the families in England, and then came back. And then after a few years, we came to Melbourne and worked with the church here, and helped with the world tours that Father was organizing, and also the interfaith movement. So yeah, so once again, not a lot of accomplishment, but I feel it's got value in the sense that I've understand God's heart more. So and also raising up my children and them growing up to be teenagers and now in their 20s, I realize that was my biggest lesson of all, was the fact that they, who followed us when they were little, now sort of saying that they know more than us, and it's kind of thing. So experiencing God's heart through my children is probably the greatest lesson I've learned, and is continuing with me today as to this very day. So I really hope that what I've shared can help someone. And yeah, that's about it for the now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacinta. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your life and those photos. Very nice. I think I'll just stop sharing for you.
Yeah.
There you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just got a couple of questions.
Oh.
I was just wondering when you what happened when you first met true parents?
Oh man, yeah. Oh, you mean physically or spiritually?
Or both?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did that condition of after 3 months after joining, to be sure that Jesus wasn't going to be too upset by the whole thing. So I prayed. I said to God, I'm just going to keep praying this afternoon until you give me a sign. So I prayed. I actually didn't, because I'm not very good at praying, I thought I'll give God a lecture, of history lecture, because that way we can talk about things, and I can sort of say, I understand what, to a limited extent, I can understand how you must have been feeling when your children just didn't understand you. And at that point, I didn't realize that children really do hurt their parents, but the parents really, anyway. But as to my understanding, I gave God the history lecture, and as I went through history in the prayer room there, just one-on-one, I started crying, and I just kept on giving the lecture, and every now and then I'd cry, and then I felt God was really listening to me. And then I got to the end of the parallels, and I said, well, look, I've got to know, you've got to tell me if it's, if Reverend Moon's the real deal. So yeah, it's I just sat there, I just emptied my mind, and I just sat there in the sunshine. And I don't know how long I sat there, but suddenly this small child jumped out of my chest. Seriously, this is not a dream. A child jumped out of my chest and ran around the room. She was a little, very young, very, uncomplicated person. And she just ran up to Father's picture, and she said, I'm so happy, Father, that you're here. I'm so happy. And I thought, oh my God, who is that child? How can you just accept that, man? This was, I sort of thinking this, only a kid would do that, rush up to somebody and say, I'm so glad you're here, And then I thought, hang on, that's my inner child. And this was before the inner child movement started, I have to tell you. This was in 1974. So the inner child movement didn't start till the 80s. But I tell you what, I've always had rather a fondness for sort of children's stories, the amazing simplicity that children have. And I took the point there, right there, that God was saying to me, you don't have to worry, just trust, like this child is doing, this is your heart, and you have to listen to your heart, and you have to go with the heart. And yeah, so from then on, I did the full Korean bow very sincerely, and I felt very much that that Jesus was right there, with him. And yeah, and I had many sort of wonderful experiences in my dreams and that. So I didn't felt like I needed to rush off to Korea. I didn't actually need to meet them because I already, you know, had met them somehow. So, I mean, I was in the church for about 25 years before I met them. And then when I did meet them, it was, I don't know, it wasn't quite the same. I didn't want to kind of rush up and talk to them. I suppose I was a bit afraid, you know, that they might, and I probably would have been correct in saying, you know, you can't just walk up to them and say, hi, you know, love your shirt or anything. You can't say that. You just got to have the dignity. Yeah, so I kept in my proper position. There you go.
Thank you, Jacinta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of thoughts come to mind when listening to you and Ian. I think I got to know you well when we went to Israel.
Yeah.
And then remember talking a few times with you there, and together with Shizio, and I was endeared by how you seem to take a shine to Shizio, and I thought, oh, that's great, because a lot of people find her abrasive. But you found her sweet, and I thought, oh, you're a special person.
Well, we went through quite a bit together, actually. We got treated like lepers in when we were the only Oceania members that went to the opening of the palace, I think. She and I, and we were sort of put out in the corridor, and the Koreans didn't want us and the Japanese didn't want us. We just weren't the right race. And I encountered a lot of racism in my time, but I thought, well, I'm from the country where that's going to, you know, help solve all of that stuff. So I felt proud that Shizu and I didn't want us to plot, you know, we wanted to be like new age people and everything's cool, you know, we're all equal. Yeah.
I am, yeah, Miss Arai, go ahead.
Okay. Actually, my personality is square, kind of a formal personality. But when she came as a church leader, she changed my personality, a bit more free. As well. But anyway, when they were church leader, they work hard. But also, to me, now look back, they make other people shine. So more activity were going on. Also, other church ministers, they really likes them. Also, their house, first generation or outside people, second generation, anytime, any day, they are welcome. So they like to go their house. And also, I like to say thank you. Australian members, they work hard to make a foundation. So that make our mission in this country much easier. Anyway, thank you anyway. I love you.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you
Arai.
so much. I would have to say you are incredible. There is no other words I can. So grateful for your presence in this community.
Yes, Matapat, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Jacinta.
Hi, Matt.
Jacinta, you've shown and spoken to us about your wealth of experiences in the church. and I'm sure, no doubt, with God and Jesus and true parents. But you said at the end, in all of this, you came to learn about God's heart. I just wanted to know, which aspect of God's heart did you, were you able to capture? And was it his suffering heart, his parental heart, his heart to embrace and love anyone and everyone? Can you just elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure you understand, Matt, but when I mentioned that it's a parental heart, I just didn't realize what it'd be like to raise up your beautiful children who are so cute and so sweet and trusting, and you become so sort of invested in them. Because I wasn't really a kid person before I got married. I was very free. Didn't really think about family or children or anything like that. But to me, my children changed me into a better person, step one. And then when they grew up and started rebelling against me, it was like, it was very painful, but at the same time, I knew in my heart I could never leave them. You know, I could never go off and be righteous and without them. So I felt like the world of heart to me is very different to the world of righteousness. And I know we're working with people who love righteousness, and it's terribly important and everything, i.e. Christians. But actually deep down inside most Christians, they've just, there's a lot of people there who've been through hell, right? And when you sit down and talk with them and you realize when one of their kids is disabled and someone else is going through incredible stuff, and you realize, well, we're all the same, you know, we're all the same with this tremendous difficulty that people are going through. And yet this is God's heart, I believe. And he's like the super parent that has had the most major horrible thing happen to him. So, but, you know, I thank God that I was given that experience in the beginning of my life where I could sort of trust in God, that he wasn't, you know, I wasn't supposed to like always just produce a fabulous result, but, you know, he just wanted me to share. He wants to share with me what it's like in this world, you know, that how we can keep on being better people, you know, and keep on increasing, and also, you know, like realizing that other people have been through the same thing, and you think, oh my God, you know, I want everybody in the world to know about God's heart, because I think once people know about God's heart, there is no more work to be done. This the bottom line. And becoming a parent is just, it is like the biggest thing. And I haven't got through to my kids yet, but I can see what amazing, beautiful people they are, even though, you know, they're lost, they don't know where they're going, you know, and I feel so sad for them. But
Jacinta, I can tell you've got a big heart, because I like your, you know, one that doesn't discriminate. I like the realization and experience you had when you went to sing in that, was it prison?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I could be a murderer. I know. I just, if my parents hadn't, you know, taught me self-control, which is a key thing, you know, and what blew me away was how beautiful they were. I mean, they really loved our songs, you know, really sort of corny Christian songs and stuff. And they just really responded, and they were so keen. And I thought, oh my God, what are you doing behind bars, you know? Anyway.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matapa. Anyway.
Thank you, Jacinta. Thank you, everyone. It's actually that time for us to enter our unison prayer together, and it's an opportunity for us to pray, for us to deepen our relationship to God and to deepen our understanding of his, her, and her heart. So let's, I'll just bring up the screen and let's pray together. Adieu, adieu, adieu. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and see you tomorrow, and enjoy Sunday service and the special victory celebration.
Thank you.
Bye.
Today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacinta.
Thank you, Jacinta. Very, very deep.
Did you see the pictures, Sadie? I had a couple of pictures of you.
Lovely pictures. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Noah.